Audrey Limery, and I am the CEO and founder of L.Y CORP, which is a data strategy consultancy. So I will start sharing. Yeah, here we go. So I've been working with data since 2011, and I'm really passionate about data and really looking forward to helping businesses leveraging their data as assets. Okay, so I would say that it's fitting to say that now it is no longer enough for businesses to just exist. Businesses must be innovative by nature and data driven to survive and thrive in a very competitive market. So the fourth industrial revolution, there's a huge increase of data and digitalization of operations. So with the challenges that the pandemic is bringing on a moment, startups and businesses must innovate really to be able to survive, to be able to really being able to compete with the big players. Okay. So I can give you about 5 reasons. 8 out of 10 businesses fail at the moment. So not really being in touch with your customers through deep dialogue, no real differentiation in the market, failure to communicate value propositions, leadership breakdown, inability to nail a profitable business model. So I would say that most of the reasons why businesses fail at the moment is because they are not in touch with digital transformation and data. And I would say that a solution to most of those issues would be to embrace digital transformation and ultimately having a data strategy to leverage data as assets. So David L. Rogers wrote a book called The Digital Transformation Playbook. And in this book, he defined 5 main domains of digital transformation, which are customers, competition, data, innovation, and value. If you focus on these 5 domains and aim to improve those domains, so optimize the different domains, so try to bring value within those 5 domains, it is believed that you can actually transform your business digitally and thrive in the digital era. So if I go a bit further, if I take an example with the customer domain, what happens very often is that customers tend to change their behavior over time, especially now that we are surrounded with data and we are in the digital era. And as a company define their strategy to really respond to the customer behavior. The issue with that, the issue now is that the customer tend to change their behavior over time. What happens very often, and that's the real issue, the big issue here, is that most companies fail to adapt their strategy to the new customer behavior and remain where they used to be. So this is a real problem, obviously. And what needs to happen is for that company to adapt their strategy to the new customer behavior. Okay. So this is just for a bit of humor, but I tend to say, yeah, follow the cat, because when change occurs and even ahead of change, you need to adapt your strategy to transform the business and thrive in the digital era. So what is the relationship between business strategy and data strategy? So the data strategy represents the roadmap of activities, processes, and policies, allowing data to be used as assets and enabling value generation toward the achievement of a goal set by the business, supporting therefore the business strategy in place. So the data strategy must be defined in alignment with the business strategy. The data strategy is there to support the business strategy. Okay, so the data strategy in a nutshell: support the business strategy, align with the business strategy, help achieve the business goals, be iterative and evolving, and generate value. So based on that definition, I would relocate those 5 domains, and I would actually arrange the domains this way. So having data, the data domain supporting the 4 other domains to help optimize those domains and bring value within those domains. So over the past 4 years, I have created, developed, and refined a framework that I use to help businesses leverage their own data and also design and implement their data strategy. So this is a 6-pillar framework, and I will introduce you to that framework right now to help you as well define your data strategy. So this framework, coincidentally, is called the Limery framework, and I will explain why it's in a moment. So it is a 6-pillar framework, as I explained, that really help individuals and organizations in their data journey and help designing and implementing an effective data strategy as a key driver for digital transformation. So the first step of that, the first pillar of that framework is the L list. It's all about data strategy and planning, all about understanding the business. The second and third step are the I and the M, so data integration and data management. Those are the 2 steps that allow the business to be data ready, because you need to have your data in a good quality and manage properly, integrate your data before you can actually drive some insight from those data. The next two steps, two pillars would be E and R. So E for data engagement, so data analytics, really understand your data and get some insight. And R for report and data visualization, because you need to communicate those insights to your stakeholders, to your audience. And the last step is all about the Y, the yield, the return on investment, really bring more and more value within the business and try to improve the business data maturity, but also the business revenue and performance. So we'll dive a little bit further into each of those steps. So the first step, as I said, is a list. Why did I call this one list? Is because this is where you need to make an inventory of your key points, the business questions, everything that is a challenge in a moment. You need to make a list of all the key questions that need to be answered for you to improve the business performance. So you need to forget about data for a minute and focus on the business. One mistake that most businesses are making is just focusing on the data first when you want to embark on the data journey. This is a mistake. We need first to focus on the business, understand the business first, and then move forward to try to answer those questions and use your data to basically to get some insight that will allow you to answer those questions. So the very first pillar is to focus on the business, understanding your business thoroughly, identify the key issues impacting negatively the business performance, pain points, challenges, etc. What you can do with that is do some brainstorming, workshop, survey, interview, and use some business analysis model to understand your business. And I also recommend to do some data maturity assessments. So Carifa and Jackson use this data maturity assessment model, for example, that basically allow you to understand your organization level in terms of data usage and management. You need to establish where the business is going. So the mission statement, the vision, the business goal, the business strategy, really understand where you are, but also where you are going, so you can define your digital roadmap and digital data strategy. And establish what is required to achieve the business goal. You need to identify what is required to go from the current state to the desired state and define the key questions. So asking the right question to get the right answers. And from that point, you are ready to start building your digital transformation roadmap and designing your milestone and defining your data strategy in line with your business strategy and goal. It is at that point that you can start drafting your data strategy. Immediate and target, because you need to define a data strategy to get the quick wins, but also a data strategy for the future, what you're trying to achieve in the future. Right? That would be your long-term data strategy. So now the I for integrate. So it is important before you start any data project, obviously, before you turn your data into insight, to identify your data sources. So identify data sources you have, make an inventory, and also identify the data that you need, but you do not have. So make a data sources gap. You need also to document your data sources. So make a data catalog, a data dictionary, data inventory, however you call it. It is important to really make an inventory of the data you have before starting a data project or data transformation project. So you need to select the data sources you want to be integrated, and determine where do you want to integrate your data. So will you use a data warehouse, a data lake? So you need to establish where you will integrate this data. You need also to identify the most effective data path and flows and perform some data flow mapping. That will help you have a better visibility of the movement of data within the business. And need to manage the movement and consolidation of data within and between applications, and set up a unique source of truth. This is really the point. Having a unique source of truth to avoid having silos of information within the organization. That help having data of a good quality and also really having real insights, solid and reliable data. And you also need to know when to use data blending as opposed to data integration. Data blending is likely used when you need to do something very quickly. You need to integrate some data very quickly as part of a short-term project. But data integration, you need to know that it is a long-term project that actually takes some time to happen and to be implemented. So obviously, we have a lot of data sources within a company. So the goal is to really use all those data sources, extract them, transform them, load them into a target destination. So the M, data management. So it's all about managing your data effectively as assets and make it readily and available and accessible in timely fashion. So everyone in the organization that need to access the data can access it effectively. And you need to implement principles, policies, procedures, metrics, tools, anything that can help you really responsibly manage your data. You need to develop a business glossary that will contain agreed upon definition of business terms and their relation to data. And I will also recommend to develop a data dictionary that will help you account for the data available in your business and help you locate the data more easily. So as in terms of data quality, I would say that I need to develop and implement a governed approach to make the data fit for purpose and improve the quality of the data. It's all about improving the quality of the data to make it really readily available to use for insight, for use for data science, analytics, and data visualization. And you need to implement processes and to measure, monitor, and report those data quality levels. Data architecture, very important. You need to identify and respond to data requirements in terms of data architecture and system. It's all about getting the right infrastructure system or systems to facilitate storage, processing, and distribution of data. So it is important to design the structures and plans to meet the data requirement of the business and have a solid data architecture. And it's also important to know when to upgrade, because a lot of businesses have legacy systems and fail to understand that based on their business requirement, they need to upgrade. So know when to upgrade and make a project for data migration. Data protection and privacy is very important, especially with GDPR in the corner. Data protection is key, and data privacy is key. So you need to ensure the relevant and appropriate access to the data, understand and comply with all the regulation and policies for data privacy, protection, and confidentiality, and effectively manage personally identifiable information, perform data anonymization when required to make sure your data is secure, and know who has access to the data. You need to be able to monitor those in case you are there is an audit on your company. So what I recommend as well in terms of data protection is to perform a data protection impact assessment at the beginning of a data project, for example, or a transformation project in the business to make sure you identify all the risks and minimize those risks in terms of data protection and privacy. So E, the next pillar is E for engage. So it's all about analytics, and there are approximately 4 main types of analytics. So descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. And you need to identify, obviously, which type of analytics you need for your project, you need within the business, because you won't need all the type of analytics for everything. So it's important to identify first the metrics and KPIs you need to answer the key question you have identified at the first pillar. So you need to answer those questions and get the insight you need to make better decisions. So identify those metrics and KPIs, then identify what type of analytics you will need to answer those questions based on insights needed, the insight that you need, and based on the urgency and the priority of those insights. So know when to use data science and machine learning. Sometimes we use machine learning when you just need to get something that you could crunch with Excel. I'm not recommending to use Excel, obviously, but what I'm saying, sometimes you can do simpler. So when you can do simpler, let's not try to actually use tools that are way more complicated when you can actually use something simpler to get answers. So it's about using the right tools at the right moment. So in terms of data capability and skills, so it's important to source and retain the right skills. So I think it's important to highlight the difference between data professionals and data skill professionals. So data professionals are everyone who work in data, such as data scientists, data engineers, etc., who work with data on a day-to-day basis, versus these skill professionals are the professionals who are basically working in their domain, such as marketing, sales, supply chain, etc., but are skilled with data that allow them to improve their work, automate their work. So it's really important to make the difference between these two types of capabilities. So I think it's also important when defining your data strategy to make some plan to improve the data literacy within the business, because data literacy is considered as important as normal literacy. And upskilling, make some plan to integrate training and development within the business to upskill your employees. The last thing, obviously, to select the right tools. You need to know what tools to use. So should we go with third-party tools, or should we go with building our own application? So you need to establish the trade-off and know what tools to use, or when it's actually time to have your own in-house tools. So report, the fifth pillar, which is all about data visualization. So it's all about really understanding your insights and communicating this insight to your audience. Okay, so sometimes what happens is that we have data, to understand a bit the power of data visualization, we have data in this format, but by transforming basically the data in data visualization, we can actually see way more things that the human brain cannot pick up when you see a table. So for example, here, if we segment the customer, our customers based on time spent with them and profit per customer, we can actually see that some customers are more profitable than others. So we have this first group. So we don't spend too much time with them, but the profit is not that high. This group right there, we spend a lot of time with them, but the profit is quite high. So it could be, for example, consulting customers. Those customers are the best because obviously we don't spend a lot of time with them, but we make a high profit, so it's a high value here. But this is the type of customers we want to avoid having. So we spend a lot of time with those customers, but we don't make a lot of profit. So it's important to make a strategy per customer segment and optimize, obviously, the work that you do provide to optimize your profitability. So in terms of report and dashboard selection, you need to prioritize your metrics and insight requirements, because you will get requirements from all over the business. So it's important to know what metrics and insight requirement you want to prioritize first and answer first. You need to adapt your report to the audience. So what level of report for which stakeholders? You need to select the right chart and think about automation and frequency of distribution. Automation will help improve things a lot. And also identify the capability that you need to answer those data visualization requirements. And at last, selecting the right tools. Same thing as for analytics. You need to know what tools are required to answer those report and data visualization requirements. So the last pillar is all about return on investment. It's all about building the value, all about really, based on the 5 domains that we identified earlier, customers, competition, data, innovation, value, really know how to bring more value within the business. So remember, data strategy is not fixed. It is iterative, right? So it's all about identifying more areas where you can bring value within the business. For a few examples, for customers, you can do advanced audience customer segmentation to adapt marketing funnels and provide tailored offering adapted to each segment. Enhance engagement with the customers to better understand customer network behaviors. You can connect and collaborate with customers to drive loyalty, improve retention, and decrease churn rate. So those are examples of things you can do to actually bring more value within that particular domain. And obviously, you can use data to help you achieve those goals. For competition, for example, you can better understand the market and the competitors, anticipate and predict the competitors' move to stay ahead of the change curve, and develop partnership with customers. You can make strategic alliance, merger acquisitions, etc. So for data, I would say that you need to obviously track your performance and measure the success. So once you implement the framework, for example, it's also important. It's obviously important to measure your performance and see how things have been improved overall. So monitor your business performance and transformation with KPIs, with key performance indicators, to ensure increase of digital and data maturity level, and drive the data culture within your organization. Encourage data-based decision-making, because what happens, I think, a lot in companies is that we use data, we want to use data, but at the end of the day, when we convert this data into insight, the insight are actually not used to make decisions, and it's really a shame and also a waste of time. So ensure that there's a data culture within the organization so that everyone understands their part and they can do their part to help out. So innovation, it's all about knowing and developing your unique selling point to generate more value. Transform your products and offerings, so stay ahead of the curve and change. And improve agility and flexibility, face to change, to stay ahead of the curve. And value, continuous improvement and agile way of working. So it's all about trying to improve performance, processes, productivity, optimize operations, reduce bottlenecks, cost, and risk. So everything that can help you bring more value within the business and really boost the business performance and improve digital transformation. You need to identify the pain points, aim to remove the cash leaks to drive a healthier business and cash flow, and also identify any value generation activities that will allow for a greater return on investment and a positive business impact. That's me. Thank you very much. That's the Limery framework that can help you really define and implement your data strategy to help and basically as a key to digital transformation. Thank you very much for having me. If you have any question, I'm available to answer.